welcome to our series of videos on the construction of the AKCP 1 megawatt test data center. For those of you who are following along, you may want to skip forward a few moments as I just do a brief introduction to what it is we're doing here. So what you can see on the screen right now is our 3D representation of the test data center that's under construction. We've got hot aisle containment, cold aisle containment, fan walls, and at the moment we're doing construction of a steel structure which is going to support our overhead rooftop heat exchangers. We have a few videos which go into more detail on this, which you can check out the link in the description. In addition to the hot aisle containment with the rooftop heat exchangers, we'll also have in-row AHUs and the fan wall in there. And then in our cold aisle containment area, we have a raised access floor and in-row AHUs also. So I hope that you find these videos informative and you like and subscribe and follow along with our series of videos. Here's the progress now then on the steel structure that's going to be holding up the overhead bus bars, the water distribution pipes. So the overhead heat exchangers are quite large and heavy and they're going to be full of water. So that's why we've got such a sturdy steel structure being put up here. And the reason that it's relatively high is simply because on the wall where the bus bars are going to be coming from, we're going to have some glass panels, and we also, we're a little bit limited in space. As this is a retrofit of an existing building, ideally this would have been shorter and we could have brought the bus bars in from another location. So, but we have to work with the space that we've got. We're painting right now with primer, and after the primer is done, this will then be spray painted with a dark blue color. Could be done in any color, but as AKCP's color is kind of blue, we're going with that. So we'll have a nice contrast between the black racks and the blue structure. In addition to what's going on here, we're also continuing with the electrical works. So last week we were fixing a lot of cable trays, and now you'll see there's a lot more wires been installed if we go and take a closer look at those. So we've already run most of the big cables, which are coming from the breaker panels out, distributing the power to the various pods. We're running now some smaller cables you see here, which is just more for running things like some of the fan wall and lighting and so on. So in this cable tray here, you can see we've got a lot of wires have been pulled. There's more here, still on the floor, waiting to be routed. So these are going to follow around and go through the wall here, and these will be carrying the power for the fan wall. So the fan wall is going to be blowing cold air out at floor level for the data center, and above me here we have a row of fans which are going to be sucking. So they're going to be sucking warm air in and they're going to be blowing cold air out. So the rooftop heat exchangers that we have on top of this structure will be operating either to pre-cool the air before it goes to the fan wall using our outside free cooler, an airside economizer, which will allow us to drop the temperature of the air before it reaches the fan wall, reducing the amount of cooling that this has to do. Or if it's cold enough outside, the rooftop heat exchangers will be able to provide 100% of the cooling and the fan wall could be turned off. So that's what this cabling that's being installed at the moment is for. Our schedule is probably another month still to finish running all of the electrical cables and all of the electrical system. We've still got more actually outside to install as well, which we'll go and take a look at. Here we have another cable tray that's coming in to the chiller. This is the power required for the chiller. So we've got our ground and our 3-phase L1, L2, and L3 wires coming in here. And what we've got chalked up here, these are going to be the circuit breakers for the outside airside economizers, the pre-freeze as we call them. And they'll be put here, so we will be able to shut off individually and have protection for those particular systems. So that's what this cabling that's been brought in here is for. We're now terminating also some wires here. So the ones that we saw earlier that are running out to the fan wall, they're coming in here, and we're now terminating those at the breaker panel. So this is the breaker panel side of the fan wall. We've got a new panel outside here that's just been put in. So this is going to be our main switch, which will cut off the power completely to the facility. So we're taking in 480 volts, 3-phase, and we're putting it through a transformer, stepping it down to 380 volts, which is what we need for the data center. If we need to do service on the transformer, then we don't want to have to call up the electric company to shut down the power. So in here, we have a main cutoff switch. So this is going to be connected in between the service entrance of the meter and our transformer. So if ever we need to do maintenance, we can shut this off. It'll completely shut down the power to the building. We can then safely open the transformer and do whatever maintenance we need to do. So this is what's being installed out here. And these cables here are going to be our main service entrance cables that are currently being run there. As far as the steel structure goes here that is supporting our overhead heat exchangers, we're done now with the first coat of the blue paint. So we're going to do another 2 coats on this and then a clear coat on top, and then this area will be finished. Electrical installation is still ongoing, running cables in the cable trays that we have fixed on the walls there. And the current schedule is that this week we will be pouring the concrete floor. So that will bury these plates, and also these bolts will be cut off. So we'll have a level floor, and then you'll just see these columns coming up out of the floor there. Once that's done, we can paint the floor with a rubberized floor paint, and we'll begin then laying out the pipe work. So we have quite a complex system of water pipes that distributes the water to our various different cooling systems and different methods of operating this data center, because we have hot aisle containment, cold aisle containment, we have overhead heat exchangers, we have in-rows, and we have the fan wall, as well as a building HVAC system which is cooling the control room and conference room areas, the non-IT, the non-data center halls. And we've got some innovative methods of cooling down this space that will save energy. And once we have this area complete with the floor poured, then we can begin laying that pipe work out before we start actually cutting and joining the pipes. Because it's relatively complex, we're going to lay it all out on the floor first, make sure that we've got everything right before we actually join them. Progress this week has been quite good. And we're kind of on schedule, I think, for mid-January to early February 2025. Now you may be wondering how it is we're going to be generating 1 megawatt of heat inside of our test data center. Well, we're not filling it up with servers. We're simulating the heat that the servers would generate by using these space heaters. So what we have here is 9 kilowatt 3-phase space heater. There's 3 heating elements inside of this. Each one is 3 kilowatts. What we're currently doing here is rewiring these to make them into single phase. So rather than bringing 3-phase in and splitting it into 3 individual phases internally, what we're going to do is wire up all of the individual heating elements in parallel, and then we're going to connect them to a single phase, because the breakout box that we have on our overhead power distribution has 3 single phase outlets, and we have 3 heaters. Each one of those outlets can handle 20 amps. So 3 of these heaters together, or 3 of the elements inside one of the heaters is around 15 amps. So we won't be tripping the breakers. So that's what we're doing at the moment, rewiring these, and we'll bring out a single cable with a single phase socket on the end that we can plug in to the overhead power distribution. In addition to that, on the front of the racks, we've got some fans, and those fans are going to be pulling the cold air across these heaters, cooling them down, heating up the air, which is simulating obviously what would be happening with servers. Those fans are 3-phase, so we have 3-phase power coming into the breakout boxes. We're modifying those to add a single 3-phase socket that we can connect the fans to. Let's go and take a look at one of the racks and how this looks when it's actually assembled. This is one of our racks, and mounted inside of here we will have the 3 heaters that you just saw a moment ago. And in addition, we're fabricating these cones. So this one end goes to the axial fans that we have at the front of the rack, and then the tail side of this is going as an input to the heaters. So the fans are going to be drawing the cold air in and pushing it out through here where it goes over the heaters. So let's take a closer look at what that looks like here inside of the rack. So here's one of our fans. This is experimental at the moment. So we found that we get eddies at the tips of the fans, and we weren't getting a good airflow going through. We were kind of just recirculating air here. So we experimented with adding this kind of cowling around the outer edge, and that's improved things, stopped that recirculating, and we get a better airflow going through. So we'll have 3 of these mounted here. This obviously will then be fabricated out of metal as well, and powder coated black. So when you look at the front of the rack, you're going to see a nice flat panel with the 3 fans there. And if the camera comes closer in, you'll see how the cone is connected here and goes to the inlet of the heater. So this is how it looks without the cone and the fan mounted. So we're pushing the air through there, it goes through the heaters, and in the hot aisle containment setup, obviously this would be the cold air that we're pushing through, and then in the center aisle, where it's contained, we'll have the hot air. That hot air will then either come out through one of our in-row AHUs, cooling down the room, or we'll be directing that hot air back up through some ductwork to our fan wall, or through our overhead heat exchangers that we've discussed in some of the other videos that we've been doing. So that's basically our setup. We have 20 racks like this to set up and fabricate. But we're starting off first of all by rewiring all of the heaters so that we can then mount those and connect them up. You'll see that at the moment they still have the red 3-phase socket on them, which is how they came. So we need to take that off, swap that out for a single phase socket, rewire them internally as I said, and then we can connect them to the overhead power bus bars. This is the overhead breakout box that comes from the bus bars. So we have 3-phase coming in. This goes up and clips into the bus bar. The 3-phase coming in is split out into 3 individual phases with 3 20-amp breakers. On each one of these, we'll be putting one of those 3 heaters. On the front of this, then, we'll have one of those red 3-phase sockets, which the fans will be plugged into, and we'll tap that 3-phase power into the 3-phase, which is coming from here. So on every one of these overhead boxes, we have 3 single-phase sockets, which goes to our heaters, plus the 3-phase socket for the fans. On the back of this, we've installed a DIN rail, and we're putting a power meter on here, and this power meter will handle this power meter will be 1 per rack, and then we'll have an SP1 Plus, which will handle 3 or 4 racks in a row. So we can put them in series. These are Modbus RS485 back to the SP1 Plus mod. So that'll be mounted on the back of these, and one of these then will sit above each one of the racks. So we have power metering on every rack, which allows us to then do PUE calculations, because we have the IT load power, and then we have other power meters which will be monitoring the facilities load. So that's basically how our electrical system is set up and how we're generating the heat in this test data center. So here we are, Friday of this week, and we've got some good progress in here. We've started pouring now the concrete slab. You can see that's going on behind me. So we're going to finish pouring this area today, and then tomorrow we'll pour the other hall. So this is hall number 2. This will be our cold aisle containment room, and through there the hot aisle containment room, where we were building the steel structure to hold up the overhead heat exchangers. That will be poured tomorrow. You can see up above me here, we've got some cables coming out the ceiling. These are provision already for the bus bars. So in the cold aisle containment room here, we've got overhead bus bars that bring the power out to the containment, which will be pretty much in the area that I'm standing now. So in our cold aisle containment room, we have a low ceiling and we're hanging the bus bars from the ceiling. But in the hot aisle containment room, we have the steel structure, which is supporting not only the overhead heat exchangers and water pipes, but will also be what the overhead power distribution will be supported and suspended from. So it's getting much closer to the end of the construction phase. We're pretty much finished, and then we move on to the actual phase of installing the racks, the heaters, the fans, and the water pipe system, which will be bringing the cold water in to cool the data center. So that's the end of this week's video on our update of the construction of the AKCP 1 megawatt test data center. It's coming up to Christmas, so we're going to be having a period of time where maybe we won't be able to get a video a week out. We've got some shutdown and Christmas vacation and New Year holidays coming up, but I'll try my best to keep you up to date with all of the progress. Tomorrow we'll be finishing off pouring the concrete floor that we started today, and so in the new year we should be ready to begin with the water pipe installation, and also we'll be receiving the rest of the racks and containment, and we're beginning to build that. So quite exciting for what's going to be happening in the new year. I'll try and get at least one more video out before the Christmas holidays next week. As always, thanks for tuning in, and please like and subscribe to keep up to date with all of our latest videos.